So, I am Savannah, and I decided to make a video on the topic that I've come to realize is very important to me, and that is waiting to have sex. And I have a disclaimer. I realize that this isn't the right decision for every person and every situation. By no means am I claiming that every single person fits this mold or this type of decision, but I do hope to bring about some understanding and awareness of why people make the decision to wait, and to open discussion and learning about other alternative lifestyles and viewpoints. And above all, I hope to encourage reflection on this important topic. So I've come up with 7 reasons, I have my note cards, of why, at least for myself personally, my 7 reasons why I believe it's important for my life to wait till love or marriage to have sex. So my first point is that media in society has changed the way we make this big decision, because it is a really big decision. And in history, we made it not as lightly as we make the decision far too lightly in modern society in comparison to how we used to make the decision, because it still carries tremendous weight, such as pregnancy, STDs, and physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. And there's another thing, a point that I thought about, and even I was told this many women are told that it doesn't have to be special, or that it's never special for anybody. And then I thought to myself, well, why can't it be special? It is something that you have one chance in your life to lose your virginity, and it is something that leaves you entirely vulnerable, and for a female, it's very painful. And so it's something that, for male and female, why shouldn't it be special? My second point is about the history of sex. And so the history of sex is that sex went hand in hand with marriage to provide security, which made sense in primitive, or even not in primitive, even in the past 100 years before the development of birth control. However, the media and society in general has changed the mentality around sex. So whereas now it's not what can I offer you to provide you security so that you will give me sex. Instead, nowadays on both women and male sides, it is more of how much sex, how many partners, the quality, etc. My third point is that there is a psychological or a neurological change that occurs both in men and women when they have sex. So before a male has sex, during the dating period with a female, their estrogen is on the rise, and during sex, estrogen dramatically decreases and testosterone rises. So if a male has sex before he is in love, or before feelings of infatuation and love have developed, then you can imagine what occurs, which is why they say that men run away. There's that stigma, and females fall in love, because studies have shown that when a female has sex, her estrogen rises and her testosterone lowers. And there is other studies that show that both male and female become more attached, and it releases hormones that creates the feelings of possession and attachment, which is why people remain in unhealthy or unpurposeful, stagnant relationships simply because of the attachment and because of the sex. My fourth point is that, the myth, the test drive before you buy, that everybody talks about as a point for not waiting till marriage. However, I consider this a complete myth, because of the fact that nobody is born a sex prodigy. No baby, male or female, no teenager knows how to have sex. Sex is a skill that is learned just like a sport that's improved through practice. Therefore, I think it's silly to base an entire relationship or a decision as to whether or not this would make a good relationship based on a pure fact of whether or not somebody was good in bed, because all that tells you is how potentially, whether they have been or have had a lot of experience with sex, aka had a lot of sex in their life. And so instead, you could go into a relationship not knowing anything and learning and catering your entire sex life to this other person that you tremendously care about. It's just an alternative. Of course, there is the other side as where, you do know what you're doing before you get into it, but it's not, neither decision is right or wrong. And I'm saying that to test drive the test drive is not a necessity when it comes to marriage or life relationships. Because another point is that it changes over time. Your libido, or in other words, your sex drive, along with your fetishes, your desires, all of it changes throughout your life. For example, in old age, in pregnancy, different periods in your life, it's going to change. And so that's a whole nother topic. That's marriage and life partners and how to work through all that. But there are other ways, thirdly, to determine whether or not you have sexual chemistry with somebody, which is an important thing to think about. I'm not saying that sexual chemistry doesn't break a relationship. Sex is very important. Sex and money are two of the biggest breakers in a relationship. However, there are other means of determining whether or not somebody is sexually compatible with you. You can, there are lots of physical intimacy that you can get into. I'm not going to relay all of that here. That will, I reveal to you what this person's drive is like, whether they're dominant, how adventurous they are, etc., etc. And yeah, you can do that without having sex. And you can also talk about it. And I highly recommend it to anybody that makes the decision to wait till love or marriage to have sex, to talk about it with their partner so that they can better determine this person's idea of sex. And that's a very important thing. Another thing is that sex is always best, or good sex is has a foundation, of trust and communication. And so I'm going to make the analogy or the comparison of a one-night stand to like pulling a name out of a hat. I'm not saying that every single time it's going to be terrible or that every single time it's going to be good. And because it's a 50-50, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's likely that it won't be good actually, or great. It might be good, but it won't be great, because great sex is founded on trust and communication. And how can you trust somebody that you don't know that well? And communication, it's, myself included, some of us can be a little hesitant or shy to communicate things that are sensitive or personal with somebody that we don't know that well. And so you won't feel as comfortable to say, hey, do this. I like it when you do that. Don't do this, etc., when you don't know the person that well. Not to say that somebody that does choose to have one-night stands is making, that's my next point. My last thing under the test drive before you drive is sex is always best when you're in love. That is just, so for example, maybe when the love wears down, it's a different story. But in the beginning, anytime you're in love with somebody, it's going to either feel like the best partner you've ever had. And if it doesn't feel like it's the best partner you ever have, you won't care about the other partners because you're going to think it's good enough, simply because you love the person. And so it won't matter whether they're the best, or they might still feel like the best just because you love them. And love changes the way you have sex. Point number 5 is that there's a trend going on in modern society of free love, exploration in the form of sexual exploration and experience. So people claiming that they want to be open to all the sexual experiences that they can gather throughout their life. And I'd like to provoke the question of, is this decision right for everybody? I don't think society or the media leaves room for people to consider the fact that maybe this isn't right for them. Myself included, like you don't really think about whether, you don't check it because you think it's normal to have sex. It's normal to lose your virginity at a young age. You should be doing it. It's you're not normal if you're not, and that's just a social norm right now. And so I'd like to, it's just a question to propose, is it right for you? And is it psychologically healthy to allow yourself to be so vulnerable? Because sex is a very vulnerable personal experience. Regardless of whether you create a wall or whether you say it's not, it just is. When you provide a person that type of access to your body. And so is it psychologically healthy for every person or for your situation? Just for people to think about that. Is it psychologically healthy for your situation in your life to allow yourself to explore in this manner or in this area of your life? My sixth point is exactly that. Whereas along the same lines of why are you having sex? And this was something that was very important for me when I made the decision to wait, was to think about what it is, why it is you are having sex, and what it is that it's filling, or what needs. For example, are you filling a void? Is it providing a sense of validation, such as I'm beautiful, I'm desirable, I'm sexy? And another thing aside from that is, are you making good sex decisions? Are you having safe sex? Are you at risk of getting pregnant, of being abused, of et cetera, et cetera? And are you being treated the way you would wish your life partner to treat you? And those are things to think about, especially the why are you having sex? What is it filling? What sort of a need it is? Is it a healthy decision for you at the way you're having sex and at that point in your life? Last but not least, I am claiming, or at least for me, for my life, and I'm interested in proposing the idea for other people to think about, or to understand the decision at least, to wait till have sex until love. And how do you tell if somebody really loves you? Well, usually the deepest type of love, or when somebody really deeply, truly loves you, they will want to commit to you. So in other words, they see you in your life for long periods of time, for forever maybe, for a long time. And that often comes in the form of marriage. And marriage is a whole nother topic of why it's valuable in modern society still. And so sex until love, or sex until commitment, or sex until marriage. Just my thoughts on the topic, and for you to think about and take it as you will. Bye, have a good day. How do I stop this?